The symbolism of the planet Saturn. Saturn is the sixth planet from the Sun, and the second largest in the solar system, after Jupiter. It is a gas giant, composed predominantly of hydrogen and helium, with an average radius of about 9.5 times that of Earth. The planet's most notable feature is its prominent ring system, the most massive and conspicuous in the solar system. To give you some idea of Saturn's size, Titan, Saturn's largest moon, shown here, is larger than the planet Mercury. There are different explanations of its symbolism. Simasius and earlier attestations show that the symbol for Saturn derives from the initial letters Kappa Rho of its ancient Greek name Kronos, with a stroke to indicate an abbreviation. On the other hand, it later came to look like a lowercase Greek eta, with the cross added at the top in the 16th century to Christianize this pagan symbol. Some, however, claim the symbol for Saturn is based on an ancient scythe or sickle, as Saturn was the god of seed sowing. There again, they could all be wrong. The physical planet and the gods. The physical planet is named after the Roman god Saturnus, which is why we now know it by his name, meaning that all the myth and symbolism is actually that of a god, not a physical gas giant. Nevertheless, because the planet has been known since prehistoric times, it has accumulated a wealth of myths. For example, Babylonian astronomers called it Ninurta after their god. In Hindu astrology, the planet is named after the god Shani. The Babylonian Talmud, Shabbat 156a, refers to Saturn as Shabbatai, the star of Shabbat, Saturday. In ancient Greek, the planet was known as Phaenon, although in modern Greek, the planet is named after the god Cronus. But I hope you can see that, as with all the other physical planets, they were actually named after existing gods. The Romans named the seventh day of the week Saturni Dies, Saturn's day, for the god Saturn. So the symbolism of Saturn is actually the symbolism of a god, although actually more than one god. At which point we can forget the astronomical connection and concentrate on the god. Traditional associations. Saturn is the traditional ruling planet of Capricorn. See our video on the Capricorn. Using the tropical zodiac, Capricorn runs from about December the 21st to January 21st the following year. This is thus a time when the old year dies symbolically and a new year is born. We can see this in this drawing from the 7 planets with the signs of the zodiac, 1539, by Hans Sebold Beham. Saturn is shown with Capricorn at his feet and the new year in his arms. He is also shown with a sickle, because he must harvest the old crop in order to plant the new crop. But why is he shown lame? His left leg is hobbled. As the left leg is supposed to connect to the right brain, this is a symbol that he relies on his left brain. He is an intellectual. His wings are tied, so he is spiritually handicapped by all this study, giving him the appearance of a hunchback. He relies on book learning and study. In effect, Saturn and the Hermit in the Tarot correspond. See our video in the Symbolism of the Hermit in the Tarot. In the Tarot and astrology, you will find him associated with anything that involves social order, conformity and intellect. Saturn is all that we associate with civilisation and conservatism with a small c. You will hear words like duty, dedication, structure, logic and reason, authority and stability, but nothing that implies emotion, inventiveness, intuition, imagination, or any form of rebellion and dramatic change. But as we saw with the Hermit, Saturn transforms all that has been received via inspiration, invention, imagination and emotion into a form that can be understood or used by others. He may be humourless, rigid and rather prickly, given to preferring his own company, but without him nothing those with spiritual connection produce would ever see the light of day. And this need for order, the opposite as it were from anarchy, is also captured in the Enneagram. The Enneagram. Saturn's hieroglyph looks a wee bit like the number 5. And coincidentally, number 5 in the Enneagram is called the Investigator. Number 5s value rationality and reason, calm deliberation and unbiased observation. As such, it may be less of a coincidence than we may think. The characteristics of a number 5 personality are that they can be withdrawn and extremely independent, often reclusive. Rational, someone who uses logic and reasoning and is unemotional in response. And a bookworm, an almost obsessive investigator and observer. As well as abrupt and concise, carefully judged writing and a person of few words. Reserved, appearing cold and detached. At best wise, but at worst simply clever, or even worse, cunning and scheming. Often celibate, or nearly so. And the perfect pairing, according to the Enneagram, is number 4. Also, the Hanged Man in the Tarot, whose legs coincidentally create the number 4. Saturn and the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is the key to the spiritual world. See our video on the symbolism of the Hanged Man in the Tarot. Far more than the Fool, who is more advanced spiritually but usually unintelligible. See our video on the symbolism of the Fool in the Tarot. Through revelation, hanged men and women may rain little gifts of spiritual gold on those below. But every hanged man, again in an ideal scenario, finds on his left hand a wise old hermit, a sort of Merlin, who will take him under his wing and refine his ideas, shelter him from derision, and turn what may look like utter nonsense into a working theory. And the head meets the heart. And one of those strange quirks of fate, the key to heaven is the very one you might least expect. The meekest, the quietest, the simplest of folk, the childlike person, the loopy artist and melancholic poet, teams with a hermit of outstanding and dedicated abilities, and a match has been found in heaven. The Saturn and the Emperor. But an even more ideal scenario occurs when the Emperor, in his redemptive state, number 4 in the Tarot, realises he has a saintly, artistic, creative soul on his left hand and helps that person to distribute his gifts. The Tarot Emperor is the god Zeus, Jupiter, shown left, and both Jupiter and Saturn, right, thus help this prophet, centre. Saturn by organising his ideas, and Jupiter by providing power and financial support. Coincidentally, the signs for Jupiter and Saturn are similar. Both involve a cross, and see our video on the cross. But in Jupiter's symbol, the lunar crescent or curved line suggests a counterclockwise motion. The romantic individualist, supported by the performer achiever, using the wings as opposed to numbers. Whereas in Saturn's symbol, the curved line suggests a clockwise action. The romantic individualist, supported by the observer thinker, again using the wings as opposed to numbers. Finally, as every power in the universe is twofold, positive and negative, both Jupiter and Saturn can have very negative influences on our potential Messiah. The unredeemed Emperor, Jupiter, may end up using his power and money to stop the message from ever being broadcast. And an unredeemed Saturn may be a sorcerer, the dark adept, masterful in the way of destruction, utterly rigid in his superlative ego. And because the hanged man, Messiah, is innocent, childlike, trusting and pure, none of these traits will be obvious to them. All they'll be interested in is giving away the fruits of their labour. But if Jupiter proves himself a benevolent benefactor who supports the task of getting this baby on the road and protects the person doing it, and if Saturn is an adept and a law unto himself, capable of withstanding the buffeting winds of adversity, who stands in the light of the God within him, the I am that I am, both the project being nurtured by the Messiah and the one whose light helped them, are destined for immortality.